Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And I hear it.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But here, listen to the past days once. 1, 7, 9, 12. But here, listen to the past days once. 1, 7, 9, 12. Here, I can turn this down. Wait, can you go speak into it?
Yeah, it's actually fine.
Then I'll turn it down if it's peaking.
It's not that bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, no, that should be fine.
Yeah.
Yes, geht.
How'd they complain the first time?
It was like meh in the background. Nee, jetzt ist nur noch ein leichtes Summen, aber das ist in Ordnung. Ich glaube, es geht eigentlich. Ja. Ja, können wir so lassen. Sollen wir das noch festkleben? Irgendwo? Okay. Alright. Ja, perfekt. Vielen Dank. Ja. Wundervoll. Okay.
Where is it? What's a drink?
Yeah.
Is it up there as well?
Yeah, I'll come with you. I'm gonna grab a second pizza slice for him. Oh, let me get you back. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. With pleasure. Avec plaisir. Oh my god. Can you all please start returning to your seats, dear friends? Yeah, we'll do that.
And also, can we do speeches before the next amendment is introduced?
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have
Like, an announcement.
Gabon? Germany? Guatemala? Greece? Right. India? Indonesia? Israel? Japan? Kazakhstan? Libya? Mexico? Nigeria? Norway? Republic of Korea? Romania? Russian Federation? Russian Federation? Okay. Saudi Arabia? South Africa? Spain? Sweden? Sweden? Thailand? Ukraine? UK? USA? Vietnam? Perfect. So with that, I'm going to once again hand my chairing rights over to Charles, and we are going to get started on the next resolution submitted by Chile. Would the main submitter, Chile, please come to the front and read out the operative clauses?
Should I start? Okay. First, supports the right of all member states to form individual economic and environmental guidelines concerning the currently discussed topic of genetically modified food. 2. Encourages the development of a comprehensive regulatory framework for the cultivation and consumption of genetically modified food. Third, requests the consultation with local communities on research and development of GMOs, particularly in low and middle income countries, to ensure that their needs and priorities are taken into account, and that these technologies are developed and deployed in a way that benefits local populations. 4. Further invites member states to financially support farmers working under a tempestuous climate to invest in options such as 5. Supports the promotion of research on GMOs on topics such as, but not limited to. 6. Affirms the education about GMOs for consumers and producers. 7. Calls upon the international community to cooperate in promoting the development and implementation of effective regulatory framework for the cultivation and consumption of genetically modified food, and to share scientific knowledge and best practices in this area. 8. Further requests the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, to support the international community in the development and implementation of the cultivation and consumption of genetically modified food. 9. Urges the international community to increase its support to developing countries, particularly in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, to promote sustainable and inclusive food systems that respect human rights, gender equality, and cultural diversity, and that contribute to the achievement of the SDGs. 10. Further encourages the creation of a fund designed to support LDCs in the transition to genetically modified farming methods, to support the international community in the development and implementation of the cultivation and consumption of genetically modified food. 11. Resolves to stay actively seized on the matter.
Does the delegate open themselves up to? So the delegate may now elaborate on their.
Honorable chairs, fellow delegates, we actually have worked hard in cooperation with other countries and have come to the conclusion that the finished resolution is suitable for every member state. We see the need to end hunger and malnutrition in the world, but without genetically modified foods, we are not able to end it. We think we have found a way to ensure that foods are safe and can be consumed without the afterthought, but also accessible and financeable to everybody, no matter where they're from or how much money they have. We also think it's important that more people, especially governmental organizations and agriculture workers, get educated on genetically modified food, so they know about how they can provide safe foods and crops, and that no one has to worry about poisonous pesticides, but can just enjoy cheap and more environmental friendly and overall healthy food. We also think genetically modified food can help with the topic of BERMUN too, since it's more environmentally friendly than conventional food, as it needs less place, CO2, and is of course more sustainable, because it is possible to modify them so that they are drought and so resistant. We urge every country to engage in beneficial debates on our resolution and encourage to give amendments. As we say, the best always comes last, or lo mejor viene al final. Thank you.
Delegates, there is no crosstalk on the floor. If you would like to talk to another delegate, please hand a note. Do you open yourself up to any points of information?
Any at all.
If you'd like to make a point of information to the delegate of Chile, please raise your placard now. These will be coming from Australia, followed by Ukraine, followed by Romania, and Norway.
Okay, so how does the delegate want to deal with the possible risks held by GMOs for the environment and for the food chain and for the biodiversity?
We want to have research built on that, and then, of course, modify the food so that there are as least as possible risk for the environment and everything else.
In Clause 8, you stated that you request the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization to support the international community. And I was wondering if you could specify what you mean by support and in what ways that would happen.
We want the FAO to support the international community with technology and research and data in general, because we need information about how and when we can use genetically modified food, and FAO can help best with that.
How does the delegate of Chile explains the 10 million needed from the MECD countries, and does the delegate of Chile wants the LEDC countries to also use their own funds to further implement the cultivation of GM food?
Can the chair please ask the delegate?
Does the delegate of Chile think that LED countries should also use their own funds in addition to the donations to further development and implement the cultivation of GM food, and if not, why?
No, we think not. We think LEDCs can use as much as they want, but we also would support if there were funds by the UN or by the FAO to support LEDCs, because they do not have the resources or facilities or even the money in general to research and like seed and crop genetically modified food.
Just a question. We want to know if the delegation of Chile is aware of the fact that there's enough food and it is just unfairly produced, so that GMOs are actually unnecessary. So of course they are important, but there are also a lot of alternatives. For example, improving the distribution in every country.
Yes, we are aware of the fact, and we see the unfair distribution, but we also think to make it is harder to make a change in the distribution, because some countries, they see that they need it, but they don't need it, and then we can have GMOs in LEDCs in countries that need food and don't have the contribution they need, and so that it's easier than we contribution.
Does the delegate yield the floor back to the chair?
I do.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to interrupt for a couple moments. All right, we're doing a chairing evaluation now. So we would like to ask the chairs and all of the directors to step outside for a moment, around 10 minutes. Then you can also come back. As we get set up, we would like you to think about the conference and the debating that has been happening, and subsequently also positive aspects of the chairing style of the chairs, what they have done well. We'll be taking a note of that, and then afterwards we'll also be asking for maybe some criticism, things that you think the chairs could do better. This is all obviously not as formal. You speak from your own opinion. You don't have to use we, but just think about that for a moment as we get started.
I think, yeah. I think we can get started on some positive feedback, so things that you might want to see in future conferences, things that you generally really liked about what the chairs did, specifically pertaining to debate, but you can obviously also talk about other things. Let's have Kazakhstan go first.
Mike.
So I liked that it was very evenly distributed who got to talk. So I didn't have the feeling that there was like preferences to any delegate, although sometimes only some delegates raised their hand, so they couldn't do anything about that, but generally speaking it was very evenly distributed, this time to speak.
Next, who wants to go? Mexico?
I really liked that our chairs were always really motivated, and you didn't have the feeling that they were like bored.
Saudi Arabia?
I really thought it was good how the chairs really kept like the debate flowing really well. Like it wasn't lots of conferences, it's sort of like starting and stopping really quickly, and I feel like it flowed really well.
Yeah, also both chairs, specifically Charles, during our breaks or like even cookie breaks or before the conference would start in the mornings, he'd always come around and ask if, or both of them actually, would come around and ask if there's, if they can help us write or formulate like points of information or speeches or clauses or anything like that. Like he just kept asking, even though each time we said like, it's fine, don't worry, we got this. So yeah, I thought that was really sweet.
They also offered nice support during debates. If we had a point of information to the chair, they answered really well.
I agree with what Franz said, and also they were very good at like keeping the debate flowing. They knew when to have like unmoderated caucus, when we should have like breaks. There was a really good balance between like what they did, and they also both the chairs, they always alternated in who chair, like one chair like chairs a resolution, and then they always swap, so it was a nice mixture. And also, as Franz already said, during lobbying time they came up to us and They always made sure that we were on the right path, that like debate was flowing well and the lobbying process was going well, and also just I would say the general like vibe and enthusiasm that they showed throughout the debate is plausible.
I also especially thought that they were very helpful, and you could just interrupt in the middle of debate and ask them a question if you really didn't know something. So I really had the feeling everyone could ask any questions at any time. So yeah, and the chairs were really helpful.
I also really enjoyed that they always encouraged you to take part in the debate, or that they had a good mixture of being like professional, but then also not making you feel at home.
So at previous conferences, lobbying time was very difficult and very chaotic and unorganized, and then like the groups, there was like one huge group and like one small group. But this time it went really smooth. Like after 15 minutes, all the groups were formed and already had the main submitter and everything. So I just really enjoyed that.
That's great feedback. Unless there's anything concrete and very new to the discussion, we would like to go into some things that you think that they could maybe improve upon, some things you'd like to change for future conferences. This doesn't have to be a personal issue, and we're not going to, this is anonymous, don't worry about it. We just want your feedback on their chairing. Romania?
I had the feeling that the different resolutions were discussed at very different time spans, so maybe you can make a plan in the future to even get more out.
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, that's definitely good criticism, and we need to make sure that all resolutions are equally divided. The issue with like lunch coming, and like the chairs aren't really sure when that happens until the day of and stuff. Of course, their schedules get changed, but they should definitely make an effort to balance that. So thanks for the
I mean, it definitely isn't the chair's fault, but just in general, especially this conference, I had the feeling we had very strong time constraints. So points of information at the last resolution, as Romania said, or in general, like sometimes I had the feeling a lot of countries would have liked some unmoderated caucus, and I really understand that the chairs didn't have the time frame to do it, but I thought that was sad.
Anything else?
I think maybe if you use the platform for messaging between delegates a bit more, maybe if we were like told how to use it, I guess might have been quite helpful.
Use the platform for messaging. It's very much preferred, and like we don't want you to make any group chats outside of the platform. So if you really feel like you want to talk to multiple delegates and stuff, and your note passing isn't going quick enough or whatever, you can also use the platform. Croatia?
I'm not sure if this already mentioned, but I feel like we can use the platform even more. Maybe it's not in BERMUN procedure, but for example, amendments, we can just type it in, and it's easier for the delegates to not write it down, especially when we don't have like desks in. And also, the chairs don't have to like sit there and type it up. And sometimes because it takes long to type it up, and then they type it up while someone is giving a speech for their amendment, and the amendment that they're giving a speech to isn't typed up yet, so the other delegates have no idea like what the person is talking about. But if we do it on the website, it just directly goes, because they don't have to, the chairs, it's also easier for the chairs. Another thing that we could do also is we can even do like the voting on the website, and then you can like clearly see visually, like we can visually see who voted for and against, because there's also people at the back, and then like we can have a more visual representation.
Anything else? Anything you want to change?
Alright.
If you want to say something, go ahead. Alright, so overall, if your experience has been quite good in this committee, it seems. I also walked in a couple times, and it seems you guys were being very proactive, so good on you for that. And yeah, we wish you a great rest of the day, and we'll see you at the closing ceremony.
Thank you.
So Charles is going to